This very last episode of Watch Out for Fireballs for 2022 is brought to you by our patrons, of course. You can join them at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. And I want to give a shout out to these specific patrons. We got Michael Kreischer, Andrew Horner, Noah Groves, Sylvestris, and Ian Martinez, aka McAwesome Pants. Thank you so much, folk. I really appreciate you. This is a dream job. I really appreciate those individuals. I thank everybody who's listening, everybody who patronizes us. If you'd like to join, help us out, and get a bunch of cool exclusive downloads and stuff, you can do so at patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv. Please be safe on New Year's. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs Dispatch, our monthly Q&A topics listener response episode for the Yule month.
Yeah, December, last one of 2022, and what a year it has been.
Let's camp out for about 45 minutes on those we lost this year. Cue up the reel. 2022. What a concept. We're done with it.
Yeah.
This is our last week, the beginning of our last week of recording before we take a little vacation.
Yeah.
Take some time off. I'm really excited about it.
Same.
Need it.
Yeah. Not really, not a thing that generally happens. So it's going to be good. We always try and reserve the week between Christmas and New Year as a, just a like time for rest. Yeah, like a bye week.
It's usually when I do that, I still have all my other stuff going on. So I'm still recording with Jeremy and still recording with Will and stuff. But this is the very rare year where I'm not doing those things. And game night and band practice are out because people have stuff going on. So I have a no obligation week.
Oh, that is amazing.
Not a one. Other than self-imposed obligations.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
That sounds amazing.
I'm going to read. It's going to be great.
What a concept.
Yeah, I'm going to read. I'm going to relax. I cook some food. It's going to be great. I'm going to be in my robe for like 2 days straight.
Oh man, that they're going to have to surgically separate that robe from you, bud.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having it melt into me. And kind of becoming one, with the robe. Unstable molecules, this shit. I am very excited about it. So we have these questions, we have your responses, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Duckstream, which just wrapped up, which is part of why we need that time off.
Yeah,
it was a lot of work. It's fun, but it's a lot of work. Even if it doesn't seem like it from the outside, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to get started here with cues here with Greg. Greg says, everyone talks about the best games of the year and sometimes the most anticipated games of next year, but hardly anyone talks about the worst games of the year. If anything, I think it's more important and more fun to discuss these as you can learn from what makes a bad game bad and avoid it, hopefully. So Gary and Cole, what is your worst game of 2022?
Worst game of 2022 is difficult. How about this? I'll say this. I don't know if it's objectively the worst, but it was very disappointing for me. The Winters DLC for Resident Evil 8. It's bullshit.
Sad. I haven't played that yet. No resentment for you. I don't feel like you're poisoning the well or anything.
No. That's not a game, but in terms of stuff that I know came out this year that I also played, man, I was expecting more.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, especially for as long as that took to make.
Yeah.
I mean, just this will definitely be poisoning a realm, Gary, poisoning the well. But Gary, this is the first Resident Evil game in which somebody goes to a realm. You're in a psychic realm.
Ah,
Yeah.
why? They've gone so they're batting zero on the realms. I expect that stuff of Silent Hill.
24 years, no realms. Sorry, no, 26 years, no realms, none at all.
A quarter century, a realmless quarter century, and then bam, realms.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
I can't remember I think this is one of the Souls-likes we did before we started Elden Ring, and I can't remember if it came out in 2022, but I don't keep modern with games. Morbid the Seven Acolytes sucks.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when that was. It just popped into my head as something I may have played to completion this year. I really hated that game.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't play a lot of new stuff that came out this year, and then a lot of stuff were like mixed successes or the things that were like a little annoying to me, but they're not bad games at all.
Right.
You know, like I got very frustrated and had a bad time with Returnal, but it's not a bad game.
That was last year, though. Yeah.
Well, the game came out last year. I think we covered it.
Oh, yeah. We covered it this year. Yeah.
And I don't care when things come out. Which is part of what makes me a bad games journalist. But I don't. I just don't know. There's lots of stuff that came out this year I really want to play. You know, and I'm really looking forward to it. I generally agree with Gregory's statement. Like, I love wallowing in the shit. Like what was disappointing. Like, to me, that is very fun. I just didn't get to spend very much time in the shit. This year.
No. And just, I don't know. I mean, it's something we did on the level, but this year we, for end of the year game discussion kind of thing, it's just like, all right, let's not worry about what came out what year. Just like, well, what is your game what's your game in the year 2022?
Yeah.
Instead of
they
game
keep
of
existing.
the year. Yeah.
It's I don't even know necessarily that's a better way to put things. It works better for me.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Autumn writes, thoughts on amnesiac protagonists in games. It's a cliche, but some of the best stories like Disco Elysium and Planescape Torment build their narratives on discovering your forgotten past.
I generally like it. It feels less the worst thing. So what this does is it provides an audience surrogate for exposition. One of the things that is most annoying in any kind of storytelling is when someone's like, as you know, we've been living under the Thronton Empire for the last 15 years and it sucked, you know, or something like that.
Thronton bastards are gonna pay.
Well, the Throntons, but the idea that characters just telling each other things they already know, you know, that sucks. And it's you know, it happens everywhere. It happens in all kinds of media. An amnesiac protagonist gets rid of that. You know, there's a reason to ask for things. It's not the most elegant thing, and it ends up feeling like there are way more amnesiacs in video games than there are in real life, where I haven't met a one. You know, it's not like they're everywhere. But yeah, I think it's as elegant, or it's at least a setup, as opposed to just ignoring the need for it and just having characters tell each other stuff that they already know.
Yeah. What I don't like is when an amnesiac character is used as a way for somebody into an existing setting, you know, kind of deal. Like, oh, you're playing your custom character and you're in the world of X-Men and just like, oh, sorry, you did your mutant power is that you forget everything that happened before, you know, 10 minutes ago. But 10 minutes before the game starts.
What's an example of that?
I don't know.
I was with you in terms of concept, but I'm struggling thinking of something that does that.
Here. Okay, like here's a real annoying thing, and this is a game that you didn't play. It's a game that a lot of people didn't play. But World of Final Fantasy. Remember that Pokemon like starring a bunch of Final Fantasy monsters instead of Pokemon stuff. Like
it has the WAF initials, which is annoying.
Yeah. That's like a multiverse thing where your characters get isekai'd into it, you know? And then it's just like, oh, well, here's a hey, Gary, you got a package.
It's the season. It can wait.
Yeah. But it's like, oh gosh, you know, the combat is hitting people, and a cactor is a cactus monster. That kind of stuff. Just when like it's there's an assumption that they're explaining stuff that the person who thought to buy this would by all rights know.
Would 100% know.
Yeah.
Like I definitely get annoyed by that. It doesn't. for me, it's a lot of times it's not that the protagonist is amnesiac in that, it's the developer thinks you've never played a video game before.
Yeah.
And that kind of shit drives me nuts.
Mhm.
A lot of times they don't even make the protagonist amnesiac, though. They just have them, well, just in case you forgot how to breathe, like, here's how we do it in this world.
Yeah.
You know, and that shit sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I get it, but it's just, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Ben says, and there's some summary because it's a long question. They had taken a 10-year hiatus for the Resident Evil games and went back through the recent ones and has been having fun. And we're apprehensive about Resident Evil 6. And goes on to say, having played all 4 campaigns of RE6, I can genuinely say that I loved it. I played in handheld mode on the Switch OLED and used motion controls for precise aiming, and I couldn't be happier with my decision to play this game that I missed 10 years ago. I don't know if it's because I didn't pay full price, because I played it like a handheld game, because I played it a decade after its release with low expectations, or, most likely, a combination of all the above. Is that stupid? Or is it stupid? Absolutely, and I love it for that. I suppose my question is, how has critical consensus, negative or positive, adversely affected your decision to play or not play a game? I included the possibility that positive consensus might cause someone to play a game that they might not otherwise have wanted to play, but felt that they should play anyway. I still resent my time with The Witness and Celeste, but more power to the folks who seem to agree with the vast majority of critics and love them. And then some nice stuff.
Yeah.
Said. This is an interesting question. There are things that will just kind of get a reputation.
Yeah.
You know, and then because of that, I'm like, And a lot of times that is overblown.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real thing. Set expectations, you know, for something. And this is all part of the complicated alignment chart web of kill the hype inside you.
Yeah.
Like once you kill hype, this will become less of a problem because nothing can live up to hype. You know, if you stop thinking things are going to be world changing, you'll probably enjoy them more. And that's very similar how I went into RE6, which was after it was, you know, not quite this old, but several years after it had come out, co-op with low expectations because it had a bad critical reputation. And I had a really fun time with it.
Yeah. I mean, with Resident Evil 6, like specifically about this game, like I got it, played it, enjoyed it, and I was really curious why I didn't hear anybody talking about it. You know, like this is the point where I wasn't reading a lot of reviews, but I was listening to a bunch of podcasts, and I was like, when the fuck are they going to talk about this like pretty fun game from a massive? And then I just realized, like, oh, the reason they're not is because the narrative on this is that it's dog shit. It's like,
a memory hold.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people have revisited. I'm not saying that people who don't like Resident Evil 6 are fooling themselves or are necessarily buying into the Kool-Aid or anything. It's just a divisive game. Like it's one of those games where it works for some folk and doesn't for others.
Yeah.
There's different kinds of, one of the things, so we're hoping to do a live show this year. It's too early to announce details, but one of the things we want to talk about in it is 7 out of 10 games. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot in preparing for that is the different ways something can be 7 out of 10. And sometimes it's does one thing incredibly well, but does everything else kind of dog shit. Another way is something like this. I think RE6 is a really great example of a 7 out of 10.
Agreed.
Where like 7 out of 10 people are going to find it like not very fun, you know, are just going to be like, yeah, this stuff is really annoying. And this is not dumb in a charming way. You know, there are enough cilantro elements to it and enough mediocre. And I say that in the best possible light of mediocre. You know, like not awful, but just kind of serviceable elements to it that depending on your mood and your kind of psychographic, your expectations when you're coming towards it, it's either going to land as like, oh, that's actually pretty good, or land as like, no, this isn't worth thinking about. Like it's a specific kind of 7 out of 10. So that totally makes sense.
Very, very specifically what Ben is getting at here, though, like it feels like it is a companion to the BioShock 2 problem, you know? You know, which is a game that I absolutely like put off playing because I heard like, oh, if you liked the first one, this one is not going to be worth your time or whatever. Which fie on those people. Like BioShock 2 is it's a very, very good game. Yeah.
It's also, that's one of those things too where the discourse around something is in contrast with the reviews. You know, like that game actually reviewed pretty well. It's just like, you know, the discourse was, it was nonsense. Like, this is not something I go all in on at all. but I've noticed a marked difference since I've been not using Twitter as much, that like I'm getting a lot fewer hyperbolic takes on things. Like I just read fewer people saying like, this is absolutely dog shit or this is genius and here's why. And both those things suck. I don't want, that's not good information and I don't want it. And I'm just getting less of it. Like, and there's a reason why it shows up. Like the internet does that. It's a centrifuge. It's not, I don't think it's that useful. Personally, I've had the experience of reputation being good hurting me more than reputation being bad for something. And probably a lot of that selection bias where like reputation's bad, I never find out. Like I never actually play it. But like one of my big examples with that is Dragon Age Inquisition, which won tons of Game of the Year awards. People really loved it. I think that game sucks. And I was very disappointed playing it. I was like, oh, seriously, like I'm just going to pick up MMO shit. This is just a single player MMO and this is your Messiah. Like, that's wild. And then eventually time kind of caught up and people were like, no, it's all right. Like people backed off a bit.
And then if it's the other way where like the story around it was bad and I ended up playing it and had a good time, like it's hard to have an reaction to that just because, I played something I enjoyed. I decided basically as soon as I saw the first screenshots that I was going to play Scorn, and I was very confused when it started getting like panned by people. And after I had like already played like a bunch of it, and I was like, oh, this is great. And I was, this just isn't for everybody. It was just made for me. So if it ends with me still playing something good, it's kind of hard for me to care what the consensus is, because I can be my own advocate for it. And that, I just affect the people who are within earshot of my words, and that's fine. That's what matters to me.
The discourse and the conversation around something is interesting of professional and personal interest to me. But part of the remit of the network and stuff we've always been trying to do is that like the relationship between the player and the game is kind of like a holy and untouchable thing. Like you can't take that away. Like we talk about how, if you had fun, that fun is real. It's not something that somebody can influence or that you should allow somebody to influence if they're trying, or if you start feeling it, like it's up to you. And like that fun that you had with Scorn, like the fun I have with Grand Theft 80s, something like that is real. It doesn't really, like, the discussion is interesting, but it's also a separate thing.
Agreed. Jordan writes, long time, first time. I'm loving Elden Ring, but I'm really disappointed with the amount of hard light weapons in the game. They refer to like Margit's hammer and arrows and stuff.
Lightsabers.
From usually knocks it out of the park with outlandish pseudo-historic weaponry. It's just a tad just a tad sucky to me when a boss pulls some Green Lantern ass shit from out of nowhere instead of a wicked sword or something. Though that giant glowing gavel is pretty funny. It's probably a silly gripe for sure. What are your thoughts? And then some nice words. I mean, like the weapons are cool. Like, I don't know, a big part of what's his name, Vendrick's Guardian guy, is the fact that he's hitting you with a huge bell. It's hard for me to get my dander up about light weapons, though.
There are fewer of them than it maybe seems. It's kind of front loaded, and then you go into Liurnia where there's the sorceries that emulate weapons, and then it kind of goes away. For the rest of the game, it feels like. Generally, it doesn't bug me, but I also get bothered by, I have little specific pet peeve kind of things. The other thing I would say about Elden Ring specifically is there are so many weapons that are like that. Like there are maybe fewer bosses who are using something incongruous as a weapon, which I also really love. But I don't know, you're going to be able to fight a gigantic guy who uses a pot lid. That's pretty fun. That's coming. There is a little bit of that still. So there's maybe a little bit less, but it wasn't enough to trip any alarms for me. Miniav says, and thank you for including a pronunciation guide.
Yes.
Miniav, I appreciate that. Cause I always feel like a dope. I don't want to disrespect anybody. They say, hey guys, finally joined the Slack on Saturday and want to thank you guys for helping to build such a friendly community to get involved with. Everyone has made me feel very welcome, and I was immediately given advice on how to use the Slack as a whole, as I'd honestly never heard of it before. was glad to see you cover Torment, as I have it, but I haven't given it a try. I actually found WoF and Duckfeed as a whole getting interested in Planescape last year and finding you guys had the most comprehensive coverage of the game that I could find, so Torment was the next logical step. Gary mentioned that Torment may work better as a collection of short stories, and they're talking about Tides of Numenera specifically.
Yes. Yeah.
Collection of short stories rather than one big long plot. Do you guys feel that anthology-style video games should be a little bit more widespread, i.e. like Stories Untold, What Remains of Edith Finch, or Kentucky Road Zero, somewhat? Are there any other games that you feel didn't need to be tied together with as strong of an overarching story and would be just as, if not more successful, being split down? Almost every Bethesda, every Elder Scrolls game except Morrowind.
Mm-hmm.
I still really want the Skyrim that has no main plot. That's just a gigantic world with like cool shit to tumble into.
Mm-hmm.
And that, goes for Oblivion as well. I'm sure it'll be true for Elder Scrolls 6. It's kind of true. It's certainly true of Fallout 3. It's kind of true of Fallout 4. It's a big Bethesda thing.
Yeah.
For me, that I want that.
Yeah. I mean, I have, this has been a saw for me, I think, since we played Fallout 2, which is another very good short story collection. In effect. I would absolutely love to see, love to see more Stories Untold rules. We're going to be talking about What Remains of Edith Finch here pretty soon. And I am generally in favor of this, like up to the point where, even though the entries are pretty inconsistent and I am very disappointed with the most recent one, Devil and Me, but the Dark Pictures anthology I think is a very great way to do that kind of
really cool
game.
Idea.
It's a very cool idea. And my appetite for, one of those 6-hour games every year is effectively endless.
Yep. Yeah, I love short form.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. So yeah, I would love more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an interesting question where it's like things that would work better, and that has a corollary question where like if the main plot is subtractive to something, which is the case of like very specifically Oblivion, right? Like I think where the main quest is dumb, and then once you start doing it, it makes doing the fun parts harder and worse. There versus if the main quest is just not the draw, right? So like you take something like again Tides of Numenera, where the main quest is not bad, it's not horrible, it's just not as good as all the extra stuff. But then you take something like Planescape Torment, where it is a great collection of little short stories. Like there's all these really cool ideas that happen constantly in it, and all of your companions have a great story and stuff. But then the main story is also equally additive. That's the tough part.
Yes.
And that's kind of Obsidian's trick. Same thing with New Vegas. I think New Vegas is full of little short stories and side paths that are really cool, but the actual central conflict is very interesting as well.
Yes.
As opposed to if the central conflict is just a distraction and the worst part. So there's kind of a separate axis with those.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. I think there are series that definitely would have benefited from being an anthology. See Silent Hill, the continuity between 1 and 3 is neat, but anytime it's like, hey, here's more about the cult and stuff.
I would like to learn Pyramid Head origins. What's he into? What bands does he like?
Yeah. And when they tried doing a kind of an anthology approach or whatever, with like Downpour or whatever, it just kind of ended up being the same kind of story. I would like to see that brought in with some variety, like that really could exist without the cult continuity, I think. And as much as I am a fan of the continuity snarl and Resident Evil, that could be anthology too. I don't need to follow
I would love
the
to see
same
a
characters.
good version of Outbreak.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a good Outbreak? Like just like here's the city, here's 10 separate scenarios, but done in the RE2 Make engine. Not like those shitty little DLCs where it's like Kendo's story going through the same place, but just like here's bespoke, like a 2/3 of a police station, a bunch of time, the equivalent of over and over for several different characters. What a dream. That would be just wonderful.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's hear. Gotham writes, Sometimes it's really hard for me to get into a new game because I have to teach my brain to do something new. All my friends have told me that Disco Elysium is Gothamnip, but whenever I boot it up, my brain goes, ugh, now you're going to have to learn these new mechanics and how the systems work with each other. Why don't you just throw on a podcast and play Elden Ring for the 5th time? As folks who play games for a living and have to jump from genre to genre, how do you get over that hump? There's a PS here, which I'll do after we answer this question.
Yeah, this is super real. It's not something but you're not alone. It's not something I like about myself, but I get this way about everything. Like day after Duckstream, I couldn't sleep, got home. We're going to talk more about all the recovery and stuff. But I was sitting there and my lovely fiance was like, hey, do you want to watch Willow? Like the TV show Willow, like thinking it would be like a nice low effort, thing for me because I've been wanting to watch it and stuff. I've been saving it. And I got an immediate anxiety spike about meeting new fictional characters.
That was going to be part of my answer on this. Yeah.
Like I just, and that's the least demanding thing that there is. Like it's fake. You know, in my head, I think it's real and I try to treat myself with kindness. I have some self-contempt around how hesitant I am around stuff like that, but it's real. And it's a function of anxiety and exhaustion where like, I just have to hang out with the Simpsons. You know, I just had to see what Alton Brown's up to. Yeah. Here's my boy. He's going to yell at these people and make them do stupid shit. That feels comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I get like that all the time and I get that way with games. You know, for me, when that happens, and I definitely get that way with big, crunchy, talky, deep games like that. Like, I cannot really describe, like we're doing Heretic for work, how refreshing that has been, that it's just like, get to blasting. You know, hey man, you're circle strafing around the Monstrous Manual.
Yeah.
Do it. You know, here's some cool wands and shit. Like, no think, just go. Has felt great.
That is such a, well, I'm looking forward to that too. I'm gonna get ahead on stuff over
it's
break.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's real fun. It's kind of better than Doom. I don't know. It's better than Doom 2. Like, it doesn't feel better and the weapons aren't better. The level design is significantly better. They suggest places better, and it's way less like maze-like.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But you know, when I sit down to basically like anything, right? Like just a per percentage per sitting, like that, like onboarding, it makes things so slow for me because it is such an effort to get myself over the hump of investing in, like, you know, getting up to speed. So like sitting 1 will be, you know, 3% of the game. Sitting 2 will be like 4, and then 5, and then 20. 35 until it's over. Like once you're up to speed, it's there. But it really is, you know, quite a bit. You know, especially if I am, you know, learning about the world. Like, you know, I keep track, you know, just because I portion out like assignment play. But it's very funny if you look at my like little calendar of like what section of a game I played when. Like Torment was especially big for this because Torment Numenera, because it was a new setting and it was just really, but it was just like one mission, and then no, but I'm
revisiting it. I was like that. I ended up doing it like that. Like played the first, you know, the intro in one sitting, and then like the first area of the town, and then the next play was the rest of the town. You know, like it exponentially goes up.
You know, like for the shows, it's fine. Like I think we schedule for variety. You know, I think
try to
attempt to anyway. But schedule for variety, both in terms of like not wanting to burn the audience out, but also not wanting to burn ourselves out. You know, so that ends up being like we kind of force ourselves to like kind of get into like mid dosing that on a pretty regular basis. But for like I'm sitting down to play this for fun kind of stuff, or I'm sitting down to watch this for fun. I exist in the realm of like I just kind of want to see what's happening at a little restaurant called Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, see what that family's up to.
They get into some scrapes.
Yeah, they're probably having some neighbor relations that are a little bit fun. Maybe some economic stuff. I don't know, man. Just it's not something I love about myself, and it's something that you probably need to work on either coming to peace with or changing. You know, I think about people I know who just keep up with new stuff constantly. Like part of it's because of his job, but my friend Will, who I do everything to Guppy with, is really good about this stuff. Like he's, generally keeps up, like what's going on, what's new. And he knows, and he's watched it. He's at least familiar with it. And I can't do that. Like, and I think it's neat. I think it's cool. I don't think that my way is more virtuous than his way. I think it is probably a good thing to have like, this is not a sphere in which he does it, but like Brian, who's in my band, will keep up with like newer music. Yeah. Like has this huge wide swath of music. And like I'm going to take a shower. I just want to sing along to a couple songs. I don't want to hear a album I haven't heard before, and it's something I would like to change. That might be my 2023 kind of general move, try to shift a little bit in that direction.
Yeah. So, one more game question here.
Yeah. Doug says, real quick, Gotham also had a PS.
Yes, PS. Saying, apologies to Cole for being super wrong about the length of Death Stranding's ending. I wasn't trying to spread fake news on the Duck feeds. I just got so angry thinking about the game. Fact-checking went straight out the window. You're fine. This is
it's
not
actually
something...
5 times as long, as you said. You underestimate it. I'm trying to spread fake news on the Duck feeds to besmirch the creator.
This is not like it is bad to defend your point this way, to say like, oh well, it says a lot about society that I thought this could be true, but also like if that's how it felt to you, if it felt like 2 hours, and it probably was, spread out probably pretty long.
Who knows how many times you paused and looked at your phone? Maybe it did take 2 hours because you were bored out of your fucking gourd.
Yeah. Just no need to apologies. No need for apologies. There we go.
Last game question. Doug, friend of the show, says, I've been thinking about Narita Boy lately. It didn't make much of a splash when it came out. Has S rank visuals and even better soundtrack. I keep in heavy rotation, and you all should too. Unfortunately, the play itself is a 7 out of 10 at best, which makes it hard to recommend. I'm curious how you approach a game where one aspect of it is extremely good and outshines the rest, which is only average at best. What the fuck's a Narita Boy?
I had no idea. I had to look it up. It looks neat. It is...
I've never heard of this.
Becomes Symphonic in Narita Boy, a radical action and adventure as a legendary pixel hero trapped as a mere echo within the digital kingdom. Discover the mysteries of the Techno Sword, lock swords with the corrupts.
You're putting me to sleep, man.
Stallions?
You're hypnotizing me.
Yeah.
Discover the mysteries of the Techno Sword.
Retro style action platformer looking kind of thing, with a very aggressive CRT filter over stuff.
Gotcha. 9 out of 10 on Steam, 3.7 out of 5 out of GOG. Tell it. This is related to that 7 out of 10-ness thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately. For me, I weigh things differently. I will put up with an ugly game if it has great play. I weigh things towards play. So like Slay the Spire, Monster Train, like Isaac, like those have A+ play. So I don't really care about their looks. I never go the other way. Something just being pretty, but playing like dog shit, I couldn't care less. Good visuals and good, for my personal values, good visuals and good soundtrack will never make up for mediocre play ever. So the, good theming might, but visuals, and I don't care about visuals and soundtrack. For something. But I think that that's what would make something like this a 7 out of 10 for me, is like whether the thing you care about most, or like whatever the thing you care about most, where it lands, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big one for Scorn, where for me, a lot of horror is, atmosphere. Right. It is mood. It is how well does it, kind of keep me off center, off balance, that kind of thing. It is not just that it looks the way that it does. It is that it is so committed to the aesthetic, and it is so all encompassing, like that is a way in which like looks will factor in, but also looks end up being part of the overall appeal of a horror game generally, just because, horror is presentation to a certain degree. I mean, I'm just repeating your answer in a different with different examples, but you just have to, it depends on what you weigh, right? My example for that would be the game Gris, whatever it is. Beautiful game. It sucks. Yeah, it's not It's not very good.
Yeah.
It does not. You move very slowly. There's no opposition, and it's very difficult to tell which way to go. I don't care if it's a metaphor, what it's a metaphor for, or that it's pretty. It's just like no. There's
It's just
better
miserable to
places to get
play.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a rare commodity.
Right.
And I just, it's not that there's no talent that goes into it. Like in terms of it being artful, like I admire the craft that goes into that kind of art the same way I admire the craft that'll go into like a great soundtrack for a game that I don't particularly like. But I just, it's not, it's a game. It's a game. I want it to function holistically and with all those things.
It needs to exist on that level, please.
Yeah. At least for me. And other people like more power, people who loved Rise, good for you. I wouldn't take that away from you if I could. I just, for me, that game sucked.
Yes.
Moving on to life questions, we just got the one. Maya says, "Hi there, Gary and Cole. As some of the more astute listeners may have gathered, I often ask fluff questions that are more funny and stupid as can be, instead of genuinely pointed questions that engender serious thought and reflection. Perhaps as a result of crippling anxiety and imposter syndrome informing me that I am incapable of asking a genuine question. On that note, do you ever grapple with anxiety or imposter feelings as it relates to your space in both the gaming and podcast spaces? Anybody makes an Among Us joke, I will cry mercury teardrops."
Oh, I don't want to do that. That seems like that'd be very
painful.
Poisonous. Yeah.
What are you, a Metal Gear Solid 4 villain? Yeah, you wanted the that's Armored Armadillo. She was forced to eat concrete as a child.
Armored Armadillo.
Yeah, what is that? There's that tweet. Very excellent.
Yeah. It's just very funny. You said Armored Armadillo. She was forced to eat concrete after Storm Eagle's stage crashed into her lair.
Yeah. Have some pathos, Snake.
So the answer is probably at some point in the past, but not so much anymore. I've been doing this for too long to have either of those be a hang up. I also kind of don't lead with that and don't make a lot of attempts to step in and assert that as a kind of importance. I just feel like the fact that I get to do this for a living is a real cool thing. I'm not going to second guess it. I think the fact that we've been doing it for so long just kind of eroded any of that insecurity, or a lot of it anyway. I immediately, the thing I'm insecure about is I'm worried that makes me sound like an arrogant dick.
I think that for me personally, I don't think I'm same place. I don't think it makes you sound like an arrogant dick. Mm-hmm. I think that for me, and this is, I'm not calling anybody out, and certainly not calling out Maya for having any of those feelings or anything. When I have a relationship with a creator and I'm experiencing their work, them having intense anxiety and imposter syndrome eventually passes on to exhaustion in me. I get exhausted with them talking about it. So to my mind, not having those things or not thinking about them too much can make you a better creator.
Yeah.
Just in that, we already spend too much time couching our opinions and hemming and hawing and stuff.
Yeah.
We talk about that. People call us out on it and everything. If you added to that, some imposter syndrome, oh, we shouldn't even be doing this, we're not good enough. Just imagine how tired you would get.
Yeah.
Listening to the episodes on top of all of our other insecurities. I think a lot about, I really like this creator. I'm not talking shit. I think a lot about Aaron Signal, who, watching his career, has had some kind of a little bit, it feels like from the outside. I don't know him, see beginner's guide stuff, right? I don't actually know him, but it seems like from the outside has had a bit of an identity crisis as a creator and what his role should be as a creator.
Right.
And as he became more ponderous about this and started changing his focus, the content became a little bit less for me. He still puts out really great work. He did a video about TikTok recently that was great. It was basically an explainer for the olds, which was really good. And with also some really thoughtful kind of conjectures about what this means and what it could do, things like that.
Yeah.
But at some point he was like, I'm this creator. It's not my place to talk about big games. I should be championing little games and should serve discoverability. That's the most virtuous thing I could do. That the kind of hemming and hawing, the process of him going through that crisis and then where he landed is less interesting to me than where he was. And it didn't make for better content. That he went through that. So I think in my mind, I point to the, when you are doing, and again, not saying this about Maya at all, saying this about me, things I've done. When you are self-pitying, that is a kind of arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think imposter syndrome is a little bit of a kind of arrogance, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are just bringing the thing back to you.
Yeah.
You are always so important that like everyone's going to notice that I'm bad at this.
Yeah.
When like, in fact, like probably not, you know, you're not that important. Like you're not an imposter because you're just you doing your thing. You're thinking about yourself too much.
Yeah.
You know, like my reaction to this is always like, get over yourself. And I try to live in a get over myself.
Yeah.
Constant state, you know, get over yourself. Like it is not, you're thinking about this too much.
Yeah.
You know, let other people decide that. And thinking about that is not the work. Just do the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Just, again, gets back to the work, capital T,
Eat
capital
the pennies,
W.
Gary.
Eat the pennies.
Eat the pennies. Like just eat the pennies. Your job is to eat the pennies, and it's everyone else's job to decide whether you're an imposter at eating pennies. I just, man, as somebody who follows a lot of YouTubers, I get really exhausted with the imposter syndrome inevitable episode that comes out, and just like it's boring. It's like not good content, and their job, they get to be a complete person. Their job is not to make the best content for me. But it's ends up becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy where they end up being more of a, you know, quote unquote, an imposter, making more bad content because they're worried about making bad content.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, getting back to thinking a little bit about, like, for me, is so much of what we're doing already is, you know, self, like, we're assuming that people want to listen to the things we say about video games. That's focused on the self enough, you know.
Yes.
If I'm going through that kind of thing, or if I'm, you know, making some kind of decision, it is not on me, I think, to make that public as part of the part of the product itself, right? Yeah.
Try not to. Like, I don't think it's a good look, I guess, is the most succinct way to put it.
Mm-hmm. And not that you need reassurance, but like those fluff questions are really fun. Yeah, like it's good. Like it provided value. Like don't worry.
Tons of value. Yeah, like this is you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just realized I did 2 questions in a row.
Oh, that is okay.
What an imposter.
Moving on to media questions. Matthew writes, I recently read Midnight in Chernobyl after Gary mentioned it on Unfilmable and found myself really enjoying it. Are there any other historical disaster books in a similar vein that you would recommend? In the mood to read about some real life human misery and the lessons we can learn from it.
Read The Indifferent Stars Above.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
The Donner Party book, that's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I was gonna throw to you anyway. I've recently been listening to, I guess I listened to all of it. Gosh, it's a book about the Holocaust called "Why Did This Happen?" or "How Could This Happen?" Something like that.
Yeah, I read that as well.
I got it on your recommendation. I feel weird saying this, but it's like it's kind of 101 in terms of specifics and stuff that I kind of already got from other sources and things like that. But it is a very good kind of summary of like why the Holocaust is unique among genocides and what factors led to it happening where and when it did. Which is worth understanding, I think. Yeah.
It's not as deep as you can get.
Yeah,
but it's quite good. Mm-hmm. I also really, and for this kind of thing, and this is going to sound like, this is just fun. I also really like Japan's infamous Unit 731 by Hell Gold.
Okay.
Pretty bleak, real hard to read, but just fascinating in terms of, you're not going to wring heroism from it, but you are going to learn a lot about human, like there are a lot of human nature kind of lessons to it. It's just all dark side. There's not really, you don't have to hand it to Unit 731. There's no like secret silver lining to that.
No.
Like I see tons of heroism in Chernobyl, and then like in The Indifferent Stars Above, I see tons of like just the absolute stubborn will to live. That people have that's kind of admirable. Not a whole lot in 731 to hang your hat on, but it is fascinating and revealing.
Yeah.
So.
If you want something that is the opposite of that, this is a book I recommend quite a bit.
Unit
But it's called
137, the one that went around behind 731 and undid all their stuff. Like a guy at Walmart when you're
Here's to you.
playing toys. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but it's a book called, I recommended this several times, but it's called A Paradise Built in Hell. That looks at various disasters and focuses on the way that the communities affected very effectively took care of themselves, and really puts the lie, I think, to let's say the reactionary assumption that any kind of chaos engendered in an area would cause people to devolve into animals. Mostly, historically based on these examples, mostly people have done very well at taking care of themselves. And it is true that we take care of each other. People above us tend not to.
Yeah. Cinder Elf has a question here for Cole, to Cole, and just pretend I'm Cinder Elf asking the question now.
Hi, Cinder Elf.
Hello. I'm not going to do a voice. I finally listened to all episodes of Radio Free Midworld. I went from having read no Stephen King books to now having read every book covered on the podcast. How much of a chance is there that you will be continuing the show? I'd love to hear your coverage of all the new Stephen King adaptations being made. I seem to remember you expressing some guilt at some point about not finishing the Dark Tower coverage. I want to be clear that I absolutely do not want to be adding to that. It's fine if it's left where it is. Just want to share my appreciation for getting me into this wonderful world of horror.
Yeah, I would like to. I would very much like to. There's some changes coming the next year that may free me up to do something like that. Which, who knows? I'm not gonna take on a whole lot of extra responsibility. I don't want anything ongoing, but it'd be neat to finish out the series at the very least. I am very curious about the newly announced TV adaptation that Mike Flanagan is doing. Also, the TikTok that he put out where somebody asked him, like, "Hey, do you have like an ideal cast in mind for who you want?" And then he just kind of pointed his phone over, and Aaron Paul is standing right next to him. So Aaron Paul as Eddie would be fulfilling every single desire I would have for that series right away. So yeah. So the answer is maybe. The desire is there, the guilt is real, but just a matter of logistics.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does Paul say?
Yeah, moving on to some show questions. Paul says, what are some tips for having a good time in the Slack channel? To be clear, everyone in the Slack has been wonderful. Seems like a great place with nice people having a good time, but being an active part of it has never really clicked for me. Any tips for enjoying the Duckfeed channel or various Discords?
Yeah, good question. So it's like any kind of internet culture, subculture, there's an established crew. There are people who have been there for a while who have a rapport already. So you are walking into a party in progress, so that can be difficult. I would say lurk, kind of get the lay of the land, and specifically check and see if a conversation is happening before starting a new one.
Yes.
Which seems very basic, but I think that sometimes when people post and then they don't get a reply, and I'm not saying Paul did this, but sometimes people will post and not get a reply and then have some feelings around that. And the reason why they didn't get a reply is because a conversation is already happening.
Yes.
So if nothing's happening, you can put a prompt to the room, whatever. You can participate in an ongoing conversation that's going on. And there's a good way to kind of get in.
Yeah, it's just like any kind of interaction with a bunch of people. It's like, think about it. Okay, we're trying to keep the ball in the air. What I don't want to do is grab the ball and or throw a different ball in. Things like that. It's like, we can hop in the game as it exists, as it's kind of popcorning around.
Yeah. When a big new game comes out, we usually do a big pop-up channel for it. That's probably a great time because everyone is on the same page.
Yes.
For that, and everyone's sharing information. That would be a good way to make some friends, or at least get, a tulpa of who these people are in your head, and then know how to interact with them.
Yeah. Big shared experience like that is a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. Those would probably be my tips. So it also, don't feel bad if it's just not for you.
Yeah.
That kind of socializing. That can be true too. I think some people join the Slack like everyone there, but they're just like, yeah, this doesn't have a place in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I already have a community. I think that we do have a limit to how many online communities we can conceptualize and be a part of.
100%. Yeah.
You know, and maybe you're at your limit, and that's okay. No need to feel any guilt. Like the Slack isn't an obligation. It's just a bonus that you have access to.
Yeah.
And it'll be there if you need, like, you know, even if you aren't a permanent member, if you pop into the Bonfireside chat channel and ask for tips on beating the fire giant, somebody will answer you.
Yes.
You know, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Chapel says, I recently played Demon Souls for the first time on the PS5 since I never had a PS3. I listened to the Demon Souls season of Bonfireside Chat while playing, and something that stood out to me was the hilarious disdain you guys had for the audible ad reads. My favorite was from Gary in a raspy voice, quote, "Hey kids, this podcast is brought to you by audible.com. Shh. If you go to audibletrial.com/bonfireside chat, you get to see a free dead body." My question is, did your artistic liberties with ad reads ever cause an issue with the sponsor? Do they have any guidelines or anything for you to follow?
Fuck no.
That's all. I mean, if they did, we didn't get them. That was the only sponsor we ever had that wasn't somebody we knew. You know, like sometimes if like we've done ad reads for, like, for example, Nick Daniels' webcomic.
Yes.
Latchkey Kingdom. You know, we're friends with Nick. And that made it easier. Audible was the only time we really experimented with a big anonymous corporation. I don't think they knew that we existed.
Nope.
And yeah.
The way that that those work, and the way that the majority of podcast ads that you hear that you hear work is you're basically working on commission. You only get paid if somebody signs up. We did not have a rep that we worked with. Maybe possibly if we were bigger, we might have. What we had was a login portal, and where we made the special URL, and then just it would literally mail me a check. If more than 3 people signed up, it is basically the same. Like if you're using like an online web service that you pay for, and they say, "Hey, refer a friend to get $5, $5 credit or whatever," basically the exact same thing. Audible did not know that we existed. We just did those, and it was beneath our dignity, and we shouldn't have done it. And I'm so happy that Patreon is more than enough to satisfy our needs.
No shade to people who do ad reads. Like, yes. I don't begrudge anyone making a paycheck or making a job out of this thing that is notoriously hard to make a job out of. I'm just really glad we don't have to.
Yes.
And it would suck. Like if we had to read ads for graphic cards or extreme restraints or whatever, it's not that we couldn't make hay out of it. I don't believe in it. You know, I just don't like it. And I'm not good at pretending like about a thing. So like, you know, I'm not against an extreme restraint in my day-to-day life, but I don't know, the ways in which I'm not against it don't make good ad fodder. It makes really uncomfortable ad fodder. Yeah. You know, that nobody would like. It'd make everybody really uncomfortable. Yeah. I don't want that. You know, they're my things. I like to bind and be bound. I fetish stuff. I need my tools. Like, it just make everybody very uncomfortable. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it is a wonderful way in which I have cracked in my life. I have to do a minimum of things that I don't believe in. And that is a privilege. Yeah.
Do you want to move on to lightning round?
Yeah, let's move on to lightning round. Let's see. Do this here. Jack asks, has the Steam Deck really bricked your Switch like it has mine?
No, I still use both. There are just things that are on one and things that are on the other. For me, I haven't really switched, which was a fear, you know, that they would duplicate and one would obviate the other, and it has not worked out that way for me. For Steam Deck, I've been going to things I can't play on Switch generally, so like bigger PC games. And then Switch is still my home for like roguelites and things of that nature.
There's just a lot of stuff that I already own on the Switch that I will play on that because I don't want to buy it. You know, it's fine. They both fit in the drawer next to my bed. Yeah.
Yes. Jonathan says, did you guys hear that Ralph Ineson is going to voice Sid in Final Fantasy 16? That's kind of fucking wild, right?
I didn't hear that. I mean,
Yeah.
British actors work is the thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you told me that any British actor was like, oh, going to do something that seems kind of junky, it'd be like, oh, have you seen the work of Malcolm McDowell?
Yeah, especially lately.
Yeah.
And by lately, I mean the last 30 years. It's a real weird choice just for the character. Like, I associate Sid with being a little fun.
Uh-huh.
You know, even when he's not, sometimes he's not a fun guy, but he's at least a little bit fun.
Uh-huh.
And Ralph Ineson has that Satan voice. You know, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite voices, but he does not sound fun.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting choice to me.
Yeah. Bill asks, when are you going to remaster your Sword of Mana episode? I mean, no, maybe. Like I recently, and by recently I mean in the past 4 years, I played a remake of, or not the remake, the like the big port of what is that one? That was a Final Fantasy Adventure. Yeah, there we go. It was part of the big like Mana collection or whatever. I like it. It's good. We wouldn't do Sword of Mana if we did that, but also we kind of basically did that game already. So
I could see us doing Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
You know, at some point, like that's on a long enough timeline, certainly. Right. Sword of Mana, I don't want to remaster it, but it would be a different episode now.
Oh yeah.
If we did it. I kind of relish a chance to articulate my problems with that with modern Gary, but not enough to set through all of that absolute drywall dialogue.
Yes.
Personally.
Yeah.
So probably not, but we'll do another one in the series at some point, which will be similar because that series doesn't change that much.
Right.
Francisco says, consider this. You decide to retire from Duckfeed, but the contract mandates you provide an immediate replacement for all your shows you're both in. Also, your replacement has to be a video game character. Weird contract. Who would it be?
That's tough. Video game character.
Just get Harrier Dubois and Kim Kitsuragi.
Yeah, let's just do that.
To do both of all of the shows, and then because like that would make Will real happy.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
He'd be able to do shows with that. Jeremy, get used to it. You know.
Everybody it'd be fine. It's just it's hard to pin down which one of us would be Harrier and which one of us would be Kim.
We were both a little bit. It's also tricky because other video game characters, like, there are funny answers for this, but they don't have like personalities as much. Like, it'd be funny to have like, you know, Bowser or Wario or something, but like the Bowser and Wario version of WAF would get old. It doesn't seem like it, but I promise you, after like 3 episodes, you get sick of it.
Yeah.
Like, I want the fart. I'd rather kill Mario. All right, then see you next week. You know, there wouldn't be a whole lot to it. They're pretty one notes. It would need to be characters that are at least somewhat 3-dimensional to work.
Yeah. My initial gut for me, I was gonna say Sid from Final Fantasy VII, but then I remembered that he abuses his girlfriend.
Yeah,
it's like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah. That's it. You're not very much like Sid. Just because like you don't leave the house and you're old doesn't mean that you're like Sid.
But he swears a lot, kind of cranky, you know.
You don't swear a lot, nor are you kind of cranky.
I don't swear a lot.
You swear, but I mean, not especially a lot. Not more than like other people. Your self-conception. If you're seeing Sid in yourself, I'm very surprised.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it just that is the first thing that I reach you. But just because it's the first, does not mean that it's the best or that I'm 100% convinced. Yeah,
a lot of video game characters do a lot of horrible things too.
True. Yeah.
So like replacing them with somebody problematic as Sid.
Yeah,
would be tricky.
Yeah. Hard question. Don't know that I have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Alicia says, an old-timey New York deli decides to name sandwiches after the two of you. What would the ingredients of each sandwich be? Any special sides, toasted or non?
What an honor.
I know, right? Let's see here. Toasted. At this point, I would rather lick the like weird little mat inside of the opening, like an automatic opening door, like at a store, than put non-toasted bread into my mouth.
Fascinating. I'm a non-toast boy.
Oh, wow.
I love, if I'm choosing chew versus crunch, I choose chew. I want something to be chewy rather than crunchy.
Wow.
Yeah. I eat toast every day. That's what I have for breakfast. But in a sandwich, I prefer non-toasted bread.
Oh man.
Toast is a main course.
Toast is a main course. I mean, I'll do like a light toast if I'm making a sandwich, but it's got to be a toast. Yeah.
For me, boy, I might do like I want to find a sandwich that isn't just like a normal sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a sandwich that I like to make, because I don't want to just be like a banh mi. Gary likes a banh mi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it feels very that just being named after a white podcaster. This VOD sandwich seems bad to me. So I would want to do something that's my root. So I might do a fried bologna sandwich. Fried bologna is delicious.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never had it, might do a fried bologna sandwich there, and non-toasted bread, not in a toaster, but grilled bread, like a patty melt.
Oh man, that sounds very good. Yeah.
With like a blend of like a sharp cheddar for flavor and then an American for melty.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that would be the Gary sandwich. No need for sides, whatever the deli feels good.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the deli feels is good.
Be my answer.
No, that sounds good. The grilled bread. It's hard for me not to make mine like a kind of grilled cheese, but that doesn't feel like a deli sandwich to me. You know.
True.
So I would say toasted rye, some roast beef, and some pastrami kind of together with grilled onions and some pepperoni. And just a light bit of like a spicy like hot sauce or barbecue sauce kind of deal on there. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
Salty, spicy, crunchy. Yeah.
Yeah. No creamy, not on a cold sandwich.
No,
you get creamy out of here in cold food.
You go to hell.
You go to cold. No creaminess. I'm glad that you added a moist element to it though, because I was expecting it to be dry as the desert.
No. Yeah. Let's see here. What's next?
Yeah. Morgan says the Springfield lemon tree has been stolen again by those pesky Shelby villains. You've been tasked with pulling together members of the Springfield community to form an XCOM style team to infiltrate and retrieve. Who do you choose for each role in your party? Boy, this is getting abstract. I don't. I never really considered the members of Springfield in terms of XCOM. Bad on me, I guess. So, boy, you got to get Herman in there. You know,
I mean, so do you get Herman in there, or do you get Skinner?
Oh, well, both. Skinner's close combat.
Okay, yeah.
Professional Herman could be like a
marksman, like your sniper guy.
Yeah, or like a bomber. Like he could have what are those things? Not a turret, but you drop the thing and it goes thump, and it goes in an arc.
Oh yeah, you mean a grenade?
Nope. You drop it into a tube. The tube is called
mortar.
something
Like a mortar guy.
There we go. Yeah, it could be a mortar guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing you use to kill with tube.
One of those death tubes you got.
Kill tube. You know, the kill tube army got. And then you'd want to have something about like XCOM. So we got close combat specialist, a bomber.
You're gonna want like a stealth operative. Obviously, you get the Springfield cat burglar.
Yeah, Malloy.
Yeah, you get Malloy in.
Get Malloy in as the cat burglar. You're going to want to have kind of a medium, kind of small arms kind of person. So maybe like Snake, Gilbert.
Nelson. You get Nelson for medium, small arms. Remember?
Yeah, Nelson. Yeah, he does have a lot of guns. You know, and then you need like a leadership role, like somebody who gives bonuses to everyone else. And I might go Sideshow Bob.
Oh yeah. No, he's a planner. Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, we chose like a lot of non-bunglers, which is nice.
Yeah, you need competence in there, you know. Yeah.
I don't know. Lemon.
We gotta get that lemon tree back. I mean, honestly, the crew that they assembled to go in there. The clown shoes. You're gonna bring Flanders. Like, I understand he has the RV, but like, come on.
It's pretty rough. And they brought Homer and stuff. I guess Homer would be really good as a wild card because he does injure himself a lot in pursuit of things. So Homer would be a good round out kind of wild card for this. And he's the protagonist. He can't die.
Right.
You know, eventually they'll release the Simpsons episode where Homer dies and it's going to be real weird. But
Homer
Flanders comes back and
He's the
haunts him
kind of
into-
guy you spin him up and you point him in a direction and he goes, right?
Yeah. But you'd want like a bad season Homer. Like ironically,
Yes.
one from one of the worst seasons to watch. Like
Mhm.
Homer now is actually like kind of caring and supportive in New Weird Simpsons.
Okay.
You'd want like a season 17 Homer,
Mm.
which is just a racist disaster. Like he just goes into other countries and makes fun of them mercilessly.
Favela, huh? I thought that was some kind of sandwich.
Yeah, and it's just like bam, got him.
Yeah,
got him, homie.
Cross Brazil off the list.
Yeah, what is our final lightning round question here?
Final lightning round from KL. KL says, I've had Shadowrun on the brain lately. It's still great, even if the systems never quite work out. You suddenly gain the powers of Amalware Farouk, the Shadowrun king. What licensed Shadowrun property do you make with your newfound power, and what medium?
Okay, new Shadowrun thing. We talked about this recently with Hong Kong. The games have covered most of the cool Shadowrun things. Not all of, but most of. And we just want another game that might happen. So I'm going to cross game off the list. Because that'd be really easy. I would love a TV show, like a 6-episode, like not because of, Marvel things, but a Marvel style show, like a Disney Plus style 6-episode or Star Wars, whatever. Put in whatever thing you don't hate. Style show of that. That's about the right length, about a crew of runners.
Yeah.
Done by, I don't feel like we've had a live action cyberpunk short form show like that. I think that'd be really rad. And you could do anything there. You would basically, I think you would do like a new story. You wouldn't hit up any of the big Shadowrun things because that would be season 2. You would, because you have to establish what Shadowrun is and what the universe is. So you would just have them do a run and just tell a crime story through that lens.
I would say, I would yes and that, and say it's not that the that season 1 builds into season 2, but do it like an anthology season kind of thing, like Fargo, where each season is about a new crew of runners tackling a different, like a different job or a different facet of the world.
Yeah, that would be great. You want to talk about Duckstream for a minute?
Yeah,
this episode's running a little bit long, and we've done this before and stuff too. So this will be a short topic section, but we got a debrief.
We do, yeah. Thank you, everybody. This was a fantastic Duckstream. I just from a results standpoint, the total that we got, I have not tabulated it yet, right? Precisely, just because of processing and transaction fee and stuff. But it just a huge success, and could not be more grateful that we have brought generous people in around us.
Yeah. Obviously, biggest shout out goes to people who donated and watched, like kept us going and sane, made jokes, participated, and then also donated money, which is, this we talked about this during our end. I don't know if it came through. We are the biggest lifetime donor of Transactive.
Yep.
Now by quite a bit. So again, I cannot stress this enough. Take that, OHSU. Oregon Health and Science University can go fuck yourself. We win. So
I want to start this. I want to prosecute this feud next time I'm up there. I just want to go and just moon them.
Oh yeah. Well, they have a little like gondola airlift thing, or like a little car lift thing, which I've never rid before. We could get on it and then moon them.
Yes.
From inside.
Right up. Yeah.
Yes, the entire ride up, and all they can do is stop it and strand us there forever until the authorities come. So, but they don't have the balls, or they would donate more to Transactive. Yeah, so it's that's a really like humbling and it's a real privilege to be able to do it.
Yeah. Also, big thanks to Nick and Carrie.
Good Lord. Yeah. For hosting, like I live in a place now where I could host, but it's so much better there. It's a better house. Nick is a technical genius.
Yes.
We literally couldn't do our side without Nick. In addition to just being one of my best friends and just like a hoot and really fun, he's also like absolutely instrumental. Yeah. It would not work without Nick. Huge thanks to Nick. Big thanks to Will. Will loves to be down on himself about this kind of stuff, but he's actually, again, hugely instrumental. Would not be the same without Will. And big thanks to Gwen, this year who joined us. Braden could not make it. Braden was missed. Like I love that man, like family. But Gwen did a great job. And Porque no los dos. Like maybe in the future, you know, we switch to a 5-person crew.
Yeah.
You know, Gwen did great. Came down from Seattle, fit in perfectly. She is awesome.
Yeah. Big thanks to the Level crew as well for hopping on, being in the chat and on my side, and the multiplayer stuff. Man, multiplayer makes time go fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, like, what were some highlights, like, of the actual programming? I feel bad. You know, normally I get to watch at least that first night. I get to watch a little bit of what you guys do, you know, just as we get stuff set up. But like, I retired to bed pretty quickly because I knew what was coming.
I barely was able to watch yours, even though there were, in comparison to some, I was most interested this year. I'm not trying to neg previous years. This year I was really interested in what you were doing.
Yes.
So, but I didn't get a chance to watch any of it because I had a really rough recovery, which we'll talk about. So night one was very fun, but a little bit, I feel like a little bit more contained. Like one of the things we were worried about switching away from the 24 hours is like losing wacky energy. But I feel like we really got it in night 2. So like for me, big highlights of it were Nick does a karaoke party now during it. So where people donate to assign people songs.
Oh no.
And then we set it up so it doesn't record the music. It's just us singing. So you have to kind of be there to hear the whole thing. And that was just really great. That was really fun. Just, you know, people keep having Will sing the same songs from Hamilton, which is a little bit annoying. And Hamilton is Gary torture, but I get to have the huge absolute surprise belly laugh I get during the part of one of the songs where they just describe the Federalist Papers as if they're the coolest thing that's ever been for like multiple stanzas. It's so funny that's like everything I thought this was when I was making fun of it is what it actually is. It's such a gift. So big belly laugh there. That was really fun. I feel this is, I'm going to brag for a second.
Okay.
One of the things that I wanted to do this year was I stole a bit from College Humor on YouTube called Breaking News, which is you write a script and then people read it, like a fake newscast. People read it. They haven't read it before and they lose points when they laugh. And I wrote 2 of those and they both seemed to go over pretty well. And I just felt good because I hadn't written anything for a while.
Oh, nice.
You know, and like it'd been a while since I've done the zine, you know, where I was kind of writing goofy, funny stuff and everybody seemed to like it. So that felt good. Like, oh, I maybe still got it. Like that feels good because it's just been a minute since I've tapped into that part of myself.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It was really fun. Well, I'm sure we'll do it next year.
Yeah. How was Duck Through a Kitchen? That happened well after my bedtime that night.
I think it went really well. It was very fun. I over prepared. So I made way more challenges than existed, some of which I thought were very funny that we didn't get to do. The one that was Cole related that was funny was I had a Nerf gun, so I had to hit targets. And I took 3 pictures of you. So I had like young Cole, modern Cole, Summer Beach Fun Cole. And then I found a guy who looks a little bit like you as like the Ditto Cole. And they had to try to shoot the Ditto Cole to win from a distance. But that didn't come up on the spinner. Oh,
that's red summer. I know exactly what picture you're talking about.
Yeah, summer fun call, beach party call. The different cola types they pulled up that was very fun. And I think that went really well. There is like some, you know, that's an edited show, you know, so there is some like dead air where you just kind of have to talk while people cook during it. I'm not sure if we'll do that next year. It felt a little bit like it was stressing Will out a little bit. I don't want to speak for him. But also Jeremy and Autumn, they have fiber internet now. So they were talking about doing a cooking show, like a legit cooking show during a block next year. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, do it. Yeah.
I'll watch that. Like, first of all, they cook like a motherfucker, like having eaten their cooking, like they're good at it. And also I love their dynamic. Like they're one of my all-time favorite couples.
Yes.
So individually, they're some of my favorites, but then as a pair, they're like a force multiplier. I really admire that couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that went really good. Concert went good. It was fun. I flubbed some notes, which sucked because it was day 2 and I was tired and stuff. If I hadn't flubbed any notes, it was a good performance, I think. Like not our best, but good. And then the recording came out really well. Like we could do something with it if I had played better, which there's just a couple jazz notes I threw in there because I was tired. And yeah, it happens, but it went really well, I think. So, how about you?
It went great. So my concept this time, normally I play a horror game from front to back. Because I've done so many of the big franchises, I wanted to kind of shake things up a little bit. So what I ended up doing was I found randomizer mods for the first 4 Resident Evil games plus the remake. So I just had a little wheel spin widget and picked at random which one I was going to play, either until I got to a complete stopping point, or just until I was like, okay, yeah, like this run could be viable. I ended up going making pretty good runs at all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, hilarious moments, like Resident Evil 2. So you remember at the beginning of Resident Evil 2 when you're running through the city streets, there's a point where you go up into like a fire escape and then you come down on top of a dumpster, and it's supposed to teach you like, oh, you can shoot down, and that works. So that particular scene. Imagine that, but with 4 Mr. X's standing at the bottom of the dumpster, just like waiting there to punch you to death.
Okay, that's great.
Had to re-roll that seed.
I love that.
And then the next seed, the scene where you're getting through a bus. Like there's a bus you got to get through. Just imagine an end game liquor there.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah,
it would work in a game where you couldn't like run past shit.
Yes,
you know, like I could see, speedrunners and everything have proven that you can get past all of that jazz. I could see that. Yeah, I need to fuck around with those. Maybe I'll do so over break.
I can send you the just a zip file with all of it. It's a self-contained installation. That's awesome. It's a little bit of a nightmare to get working, but yeah, the one that's tricky is the Resident Evil remake one. The other funny one was RE4, so that one's a little bit different. Like the items can't be as randomized, just because of the way that game does loot. But like enemies, what ends up happening is stuff that is coded as an enemy that you don't recognize as an enemy will get swapped out. So in the opening area where you're walking down basically in the village biome, there are a bunch of crows that they factor in. Just replace the crows with the lady chainsaw people with the bandages around their eyes. They start out up in trees and they come down and start
fall
chasing
down from
you.
the trees.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
God, I love randomizers.
It's so good. Yeah. So that was a tremendous amount of fun. Did multiplayer with the level folks, as I alluded to earlier. Got to play some games that they have been talking about for a long time. That I just hadn't, because I don't do a lot of co-op play. So like I got to do Deep Rock Galactic. That is really fun.
That's
have you played
a great game. Yeah. That's a wonderful game. I really
did Vermintide, which was alienating and confusing because everybody else had done so much of it. I had no idea what I was doing, and the chat was also like saying you gotta drink the bone juice so you get the so you get a sense of humor.
So you get a sense of humor.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little bit alien. But yeah. But like it seems like a fine game. It just wasn't for me.
Medieval Left 4 Dead is a fine idea, but then adding a loot kind of progression system to it, I think, is a bummer.
Yeah. There's a first person horror themed Among Us called Deceit that we did on the last day. That is really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, where one of you's a monster and you can transform. The Friday the 13th game. I never got to play that. Hilarious fun. Especially because you can do proximity chat as Jason. So just making one-liners as you're chasing after somebody.
Yeah. That sounds really fun.
Something that's great, especially in that co-opetition kind of deal, is great about that crew is that nobody's so invested in winning that winning or doing well takes precedence over everybody having fun or putting on a good show.
Yeah. It's you want to play, so it's a game, so you have that bit of it. But if there's something really funny to do,
yes,
like I stream some of the Spectre Files, the Spectre Files, which is an old FMV game that got remade.
Do you want to know what I did?
What'd you do?
Because I'm streaming alone when I don't have somebody on voice chat, and I need to go make lunches or whatever, I pre-recorded about 45 minutes of the Spectre Files Deathstalker.
Excellent.
Yeah, so just me playing and reacting to that as a pre-record, and whenever I did a standby, it just popped into a random place in that.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah, we both did some Spectre Files stuff. But like in that, you get options that are like, a lot of times it's always the wrong option, but there's always like, I want to see where he goes with this. Like there's some kind of, creepy green ghoul, or there's the funky phantom who shows up and stuff. And there's just like, I want to see what he's going to do. And it's just transparently a way to sacrifice life to see a cutscene. But I always pick those because it's like, yeah, I want to see what the funky phantom's going to do. Of course I do. I mean, I'm made of stone. I'm going to lose, but don't you want to see it? Yeah, I love to see stuff.
Yeah. And then the final thing that I did was the capstone was an Elden Ring randomizer. It's there. It's ready. You can download it and play it. It is beautiful. I walked into Margit's arena, in the stairway leading up to Stormvale, and who was there but the second phase of the fire giant?
Oh, it's a very cramped quarters.
Yep.
For him, that's great.
Down in Castle Morn, where usually it's a Leonine misbegotten, there's Rykard together.
I love that. He's so big.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta play that. I love that shit. I've been waiting I missed whatever the last deal was on Elden Ring, but I've got it on my alerts.
Yes,
for when it. That's great.
Yeah,
very cool.
Mm-hmm. How was your recovery?
It was weird. It's weird. It's ongoing. I got home on Sunday morning thinking I would just pass out. Laid down in bed and just was like overstimulated. Could not go to sleep. Like was up until about 10.
Oh wow.
Fell asleep until 1 and then got up and was just like, I feel weird and I can't do anything. And I realized part of what I was feeling weird. So one, I didn't eat during the weekend very much.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, this is a good thing, but like ordinarily do some snacking. I did very little snacking, very little fooding. On Sunday when I woke up, I'd realized like I hadn't really eaten. So I had a little tiny cheeseburger left over from takeout that Liv had gotten, and then nothing else. And then went to sleep at like 6 and slept until 4 a.m. the next day. Woke up like sweaty because my medication interacts with my blood sugar. If I don't eat anything, my medication overcorrects. It was all kinds of weird. And then like got up for a few hours, went to sleep for a few hours, went to sleep early last night. Like I just been sleeping a lot. Yesterday we recorded a guppy that will come out next week. That is really incoherent. Like I'm putting a lot of words in the wrong order. And transposing syllables in longer words. Like it's not great. It's not a pretty scene. I'm feeling a lot better today, but it was rough stuff.
Yeah.
So
my recovery nowhere near as rough just because I get I get the more standard end of the deal,
you get the times when you usually sleep.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah. Just the only thing is just sitting in the same spot for a long time. That is way long. I just don't do that very much. When we record, it's usually the longest I sit still. Physically uncomfortable. So it was like the thing I was most excited to do was like to, leave the house and walk, stretch my legs, stuff like that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I haven't gotten really, I had to clean up the house. I've been doing stuff around the house, but I haven't really left the house, and the weather is getting nasty. Over here, it's going to like storm all day and rain, but I'm looking forward to later this week.
Yeah.
Actually getting some legs under me in an outdoor setting.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. I also like sang and talked for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
So my voice was like hamburger, like my throat was hamburger yesterday. It's better today, but like, it's, and huge shout out to Liv, who I was just kind of like, hey, I don't want to talk. It's not that I don't like to hang out with you or I don't love you, but can we just watch something and I don't have to use my voice at all because I just was on and then talk and sang for 2 days.
Yeah.
Too much. So it's a blast. I look forward to it. I don't want to sound ungrateful for the opportunity or anything. It just is a lot of work. Like it's not a lot of work to do 12 hours. Like 12 hours is actually nothing now.
Yeah.
For me, it's being on for that long.
Yes.
And I think that's what was happening when I was trying to go to sleep was in my head. I was like, dead air. And sleeping is dead air. You're not providing content while sleeping. It's not best practices. But somehow in my head, I hadn't figured out like, you're off.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on right now. Like nobody's watching you. You don't have to entertain them.
Yeah. Go Genie. You're free.
Yeah. I did not feel free. basically all of that Sunday. And then yesterday was my real recovery day.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but better, really fun. I would love to next year. One thing I was thinking about is doing it a little earlier in the month, which is tricky, but it might make it not butt up with cramming for winter break.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's an idea I was having. But looking forward next year. Next year is 10 years. So we should do something. Yeah. I don't know
do.
what. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Mhm.
But I very excited, very happy to do it. Love that organization. Really, really love everybody who donated and very happy to be able to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Duckstream.
Let's read some responses.
Let's do. I'll get us started with a comment here about Torment Tides of Numenera. Real Torment heavy. This dispatch. Gordon says Tides of Numenera ticks so many boxes for me. So the fact that it just didn't land left me confused. On reflection, I feel like it just never became more than the sum of its parts. Just a collage of interesting little stories, but never combining into a world or setting that people actually lived in and I could care about. How did Planescape management manage it? Planescape management. Ooh.
Planescape manager. Like you control the fractals and stuff, or you choose a fractal like Civilization. Whoa.
Just maintaining and changing the city. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. How did Planescape manage it? What were they doing different? I honestly don't know, but I'm hoping you guys have been able to put your finger on the missing ingredients.
I think we were. We talk about that during the episode. Some people in the Slack did not like that we were spending as much time comparing it, which I find really hard not to compare it to, given that it's a specific successor. But to me, it's a more relatable and real, like relatable in a way that is a personal thing. The central conflict, like the regretting things that you've done in the past, regret can change the nature of a man. And then more real in that Tides of Numenera relies on you feeling responsible for something you just canonically have no responsibility for.
Right.
That kind of undercuts it. So part of it is a subjective thing that is aimed a little bit better. And then part of it is an objective thing that's a little bit more sensible.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of those two things.
I have no insight into the actual production process of the game, though, but having so many disparate people involved in kind of the creation of it, it feels like that has the possibility to have led to some of the disjointedness of it. Bringing in as many writers as they did, there is not as much of like a central input, or a central defining voice around all of it. I could also see that contributing to some of the disjointedness there.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, it's very easy to say what the final confrontation in Planescape Torment is with.
Yes.
And much harder to say what the fuck does the sorrow count as.
Right.
Like generational, like sins of the father, I guess. But I don't know, not my responsibility. And maybe that resonates with people differently.
Yeah.
As somebody who lives within sins of the father, I don't think about them that much. Matthew says, on my first playthrough, I fumbled my way through Saga's Cliffs, enjoying the freedom and the way the narrative felt like it was responding to all of my choices to create an interesting story. I was free. I could choose. I could fail. Then I met a little fucker named At first, and I got along great. He was a little psychic cheat code that drew back the curtain on the mysteries of the tides, and he responded to my choices in a mechanically meaningful way. How cool. But then grew hungry. This feedback loop encouraged my degenerate gaming urges to collect points and maximize stats. Needed more red, so I had to pick the red choice. Feasted on my freedom, and by the time I reached the Valley of Heroes, I realized I was just playing the game to satisfy that jiggly tyrant. I quit. I didn't come back for a long time, but eventually I was pulled back because I remembered a little dangling plot line that I wanted to see resolved. Months later, I asked a close friend who had played it if it was worth it to replay the game just to, quote unquote, take the little girl who talks to a rock. He said yes. Went back and reacquainted myself with Rin and sent to mine jail, where he belongs forever.
Man, I never thought of as an attractive nuisance.
Drag his ass. For me, like there are mechanical benefits to having different tides maxed out for so I get that. The reason why the game this didn't have this effect on me was that one, and this is a downside. This isn't me handing it to the game. Tides didn't feel like they mattered that much.
Yeah,
which tide it was. And then also the game was not so rigorous that I needed those mechanical benefits.
Right.
But not everybody has that. You could want to have the optimal outcome to a thing, and I can definitely see where Matthew's coming from in terms of optimism or optimizing.
Yes. Yeah. Eric writes, thanks for covering this one. It gave me an excuse to bump it at the top of the queue. I enjoyed the time that I spent with the game, but ultimately I didn't finish it. After I passed a certain thing that you do with Rin, neither of the NPC's quests or the main story were strong enough to pull me along. So I did cool side quests in the Bloom until I encountered enough friction to drop off. A major contributing factor was the combat and crisis gameplay. To me, it sat in an awkward middle ground between the deep and rigorous gameplay of something like the Shadowrun CRPGs or Divinity Original Sin 2, and games that abstracted away but are still mechanically driven, like Disco Elysium. They use it to cool effects a few times in the latter half of the game for non-combat encounters, but the combat was never fun, and I skipped it at every opportunity. This was the same problem that I ran into with Planescape Torment, but I powered through that one just for the chance at another Dakan moment, and I didn't have much hope for more of those in Torment Tides of Numenera.
Yeah, fair. There's no Dakan, nothing that's quite Dakan level other than the end of Rin's quest.
Yeah,
I think in Tides of Numenera. To me, the balance out was the balancing factor is that the combat is a little better and less frequent than it is in Planescape Torment, but that's going to be a terminal velocity thing, right? Like, everyone's terminal velocity for how bad combat has to be to just not be worth bothering with is going to be different. For me, it was on the right side of it, but it wasn't so far on the right side of it that like I can't imagine somebody just being like, yeah, this is as tedious as it is in Planescape Torment. I do not appreciate this middle ground. It doesn't do enough. I can understand that perspective.
Same.
Yeah. Abram says, I kickstarted Tides of Numenera and tried to play it a few times since it released in 2016, but it was your announcement of playing it for WoF that finally got me to sit down and play for more than a few minutes. I tend to bounce off the combat of CRPGs hard, but planned on doing a non-combat run. When it came to companions, I picked the non-combatants by accident. The first two companions I met, told to buzz off when given a choice. My reaction to Glowy Boy Airship Wrecker was fuck off forever. So I left him behind. I didn't bother to swap anyone out or to take the escaped convict guy. So Rin, and Matkina was my party for the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Combat is hard when you dump every point into intellect. Try to take only non-combat skills and have a child and a blob in the party. But the narrative did enough for me. This game sings in its smaller moments of narrative and creative weirdness. The Tabat forced to speak of his failure was the thing that sold me on the game. The overall story being a sad dad tale was weird. Thanks for giving me the kick I needed to get through that rough opening and play the game that I bought 9 years ago.
A lot of people taking the show as an inspiration to finally play this thing.
We are influencers. What fashion should people wear? Clothes? Are they in this year?
Jeans and a black t-shirt. Can't go wrong.
This year. Can't go wrong. It's yep. That's a closer in this year. Fashion is turning to clothes.
Ooh, clothing.
Clothing.
Cover your shame.
The sweet science.
Yeah. No additional thoughts on there. I just that sounds like a real rough go. Taking Rin, and then anybody else.
Well, I mean, Um's fine for combat. Um's good. And Matkina's good for combat as well. Like, it's just if your main character has no abilities at it, that's a little rough.
Yeah. Ethan writes, there are possible Pillars of Eternity spoilers in this one, but it's about a location more than anything. They say, thanks for an awesome set of episodes on this game. I really enjoyed them. This is the first time that I played a game alongside the show, and there's so much I could say about Numenera, but I just have to bring up the sheer coolness of a setting like the Bloom. That may seem like an obvious thing to say. How could a giant flesh god abomination that houses an entire city inside it not be cool? Well, To preface, I recently got into CRPGs this year, and my first ever game in the genre was Pillars of Eternity. After that, I naturally moved on to Pillars of Eternity 2. Spoilers for one of the endgame dungeons for Pillars of Eternity 2. But one area in that game also just happens to be a massive flesh god abomination the size of a city. While certainly a winning area, when I got to the Bloom and Torment, I was a little worried about the setting running out of steam, and that too much of an awesome idea in back-to-back games might get tiresome. Long story short, not the case. A sentient flesh pustule whose organs you can traverse will always be a kick-ass idea, no matter how many games in a row feature the setting. And I think that the articulations of the idea in both games were different enough to prevent it from feeling stale for me. The Bloom, like you said in the episode, is very much a city that society formed around, while Pillars of Eternity 2's variation feels more like an archaeological dig into uncharted, unknowable territories. Torment's take on it was enough to keep the setting fresh for me.
Nice.
Keeping Fleshtown fresh.
Yeah, welcome to Fleshy Town. I'm looking forward to playing Pillars of Eternity 2, and it's refreshing to know there's like some real good weirdness in that, because that's a thing that I feel like is lacking a little bit from Pillars of Eternity 1, which has some weirdness, but is generally out of the the Revolution, the new CRPG games, is my least favorite of those, while still being fun. But I'm looking forward to that. That's well said. We have one lowly Shadowrun Hong Kong response, which I will read. Andrew says, the revised Matrix in this game really worked for me. It gave Matrix operations a very different feel and helped speed up that aspect of play significantly. It does feel a bit odd to have real-time elements in what is normally a turn-based tactics game. But unlike the rare real-world stealth sections that appear in this series, all the enemy line of sight is very obvious and easy to visualize. Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. Like I did not like the Matrix in Shadowrun Hong Kong. I do think it's better than it was. It's just, I'm always going to compare things to the Genesis version, and that's not super flattering.
Yes.
I still don't think they got it. I hope that if they do another one, which I desperately want, they keep trying and land it.
I like what the Matrix and what the Matrix in Hong Kong represents, insofar as they understood that what they had before wasn't enough, so they were trying. They were trying something, right? I don't know. It's weird. Normally you want to grade what's on the plate. It's like, oh yeah, this kind of sucks, but just like failing that, what actually, what that communicates to me about Harebrained Studios is Harebrained Schemes as a studio is actually very flattering for them. Yeah.
And it makes tons of sense to go stealth-wise with that. Like Matrix is an infiltration. It's a weird thing where, like, I think in terms of efficacy in Hong Kong, they would just tune it a little bit differently. Like it should be a little bit easier to lower your alert level. You should have bigger levels where if like a little, detector node guy sees you, you're not very likely to get seen by another one. It should feel a little bit like infiltrating a place with guards, and the levels just don't have the scope for that. It's not quite there to me, but I am certainly glad it worked for Andrew, and I do think it's closer.
What they ought to do is just lift the mechanics from the Hitman Go game.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Deus Ex Go, which is very similar.
Moving on, we have some responses, just thoughts about arcades, because our premium episode this month is about arcades. Arcade
really weird that we haven't recorded it yet, but we're doing responses now.
That's coming a little bit later. But Paul says, arcades to me have always been about finding experiences that are simply impractical to have at home. In the 80s and early 90s, this included a broad swath of games due to power disparities between arcades and home hardware. But as this gap shrank and eventually reversed, it was truly the arcade-only experiences that still make arcades special. And perhaps none were more special than Namco's Alpine Racer. I love skiing, but financial and geographic reality make actually getting to an actual mountain with actual snow a very rare treat. I've managed to scrape out a few weeks of time on the slopes across my life, but all that time put together pales in comparison to the hours that I've spent on various Alpine racer machines in various arcades. This is the sort of game for which there can never be a true home equivalent, the sort of special experience that requires the space and hardware only an arcade can provide. Do you have any arcade-only favorites? Have you ever had the specific pleasure of an Alpine racer?
I played Alpine Racer. Yeah, it's fun. It's really hard for me as a non-skiist there, but I'll always play it if I see it because it is absolutely arcade only. And I've never skied. May surprise you. That's not a very Gary sport, as opposed to all the Gary sports that exist. So like it is, very, very fun. Yeah. Mini golf, watching roller derby. It's very unique and novel and cool. I like Alpine Racer quite a bit.
Yeah, the equivalent of this that I played a lot when I was a teen and will still check out if I see it is Top Skater. Remember Top Skater with the Pennywise soundtrack?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that one's fun. Just a downhill skateboarding game where you do little faux kick flips to do tricks and stuff. Yeah.
You Tony Hawk the ride your way down.
Except not on a shitty thing that'll make you fall over and break your neck in your living room. You'll fall over and break your neck in a public place where more people will be likely to call the cops on you. How dare you?
Because you're arrested for irresponsible arcading as opposed to dying, hey, there's a weird smell coming from the old Ross place, which is a grim portent of your future.
Yeah.
Just playing the odds, not trying to be mean.
No, it's fine. You think I haven't faced that down?
Yeah. It'll be in a while. I'm not saying it's imminent, but weird. Look out at the old Ross place for weird smells.
Yep.
Everyone should do a wellness sniff by Cole's house.
Don't bother me. But
don't knock or anything. Just walk by and go, and just see if there's anything a little bit fishy,
Yeah.
Nervous says, way back in the late 90s, Central London had the multi-story arcade Segaland. They had a bunch of misguided VR rides, including one with Space Captain Michael Jackson, subject of a popular documentary, and also just about every arcade cabinet. They even had rare stuff like Fighting Mania, Fist of the North Star, which is like Beat Mania with punching pads. It was a sad day when they closed their doors for good. But then in 2018, I heard that many of the rarer cabinets were bought by a free-to-play arcade. We went down to the arcade, and the arcade turned out to be a big empty shop that smelled like a locker room. We found that Fighting Mania cabinet, poorly maintained, with a muffled speaker and broken punch pads. It was like seeing an old broken mule being trotted out for their final rodeo. Truly, sometimes dead is better. P.S. You guys were talking about Save the Dog on Abject Suffering. Have you heard of Renal Summer? It's a match 4 puzzle game where you play as an old dog's failing liver. It looks too sad for me to play.
Renal has nothing to do with the kidney or with the liver. That's a kidneys.
It's a kidney function thing. Yeah.
God.
It is. You do play as a dog's kidney.
Okay.
According to the thing, this is a mistake on Nervous's part.
Yeah.
Renal summer, hot renal summer. Save the Dog is a little bit less heady than this.
Yeah.
It's just drawing little lines to save a cartoon dog from cartoon bees. It's it's much stupider than this. This seems like almost like an art game.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, it's about like it's an old guy who is staring down his own mortality as his companion dies much faster than him.
Oh, it's a race.
Is the goal of every dog to outlive their master.
I've not seen that Fist of the North Star game, but I have played in a Segaland before. They had one in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
They did a big free play event once during a PAX that me and Nick went to.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really cool game. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was like a subway shootout game with cover. Like you versus another person, and you could duck and take cover behind things, and that was really cool. I wish I could remember the name of it. Mm-hmm. But I love those. I love rare arcade cabinets in general.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really huge reason to go to arcades, is just see stuff you have never seen before.
Yeah.
Love that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Never been to a Sega Town or whatever, the Sega Land. There we go. We had GameWorks around where I was from, and that also had a Sega kind of deal. Like it was a Sega thing. So
yeah.
Have a little bit of follow up here that I wanted to include here. So Ryan writes in saying, probably too late, but Half-Life Alyx is sort of a sore subject for me. I'm blind in my left eye due to a brain tumor that actually led me to a life of video games, with my doctor practically prescribing 3-year-old me an Atari 2600 to build hand and eye coordination. Fast forward 39 years, and I've worked in games my entire life, dodging the 3D of the 3DS, etc. So while stereoscopic 3D VR stuff doesn't work for me, the head tracking is still super rad. But I got stuck at Alyx about halfway through with the Demiglobe connect the dot puzzles. I can't do them. I do the first few and then checked the fact to see that there were 10 more, and I hard quit. I didn't get to meet Jeff, which I'm almost entirely still unspoiled of, except for the name. I also had a similar issue with the escape room sort of game Static on the PSVR, with in-between stage puzzles. My brain just can't do them with the fake depth.
Yeah. This is a case of what we were talking about, that like VR, I don't think VR is the future because it's not inclusive.
Yes.
And not only do you need that economically, but also philosophically, it's what we should want.
Yep.
And just an entire medium that's, not for you though. To a bunch of people is a non-starter.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy with my VR helmet. My fiance, I got her one for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to play some co-op stuff. I'm going to have fun with it, but I'm not looking for the future of gaming from it.
No.
Personally.
Yeah. No, like I could see there being a push if there, is more development and investment saying like, okay, this is a game that requires stereoscopic 3D, and this is one that can be played, just as a head tracking kind of deal. I could see maybe that distinction being made in the name of accessibility, but it is hard to see it happening very quickly. It is by nature an exclusive platform, and that's not great.
There's real chicken and the egg kind of thing that happens, right? So like having the development resources to have an alternative to something like this requires a user base and enough money to do so, which doesn't happen without an alternative to things like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's really in a interesting spot. Like VR went from something like, I'm not a VR head guy. Like I like it, but I'm not super into it, but I love thinking about it in terms of games because it presents like a lot of really fascinating problems.
Mm-hmm.
The intersection of kind of technology and business, as opposed to the intersection of art and business, which is where we usually spend all of our time on the show. So, and final thing, Micah says, in response to a question from the WAF Dispatch Roundup for Q4 in 2022, I feel I must explain that we inverters are not relics of a bygone age. This is referring to people who invert their the y-axis on games. We are but simple folk who need the left stick to mean the same thing as the right stick, and we are eternal. In a 3D game, the left stick is our body. If you tilt a body forward, it runs, or stumbles, or falls forward. The right stick, in contrast, is your head. If you tilt a head forward, you will look down. In 3D games, both sticks mean to lean. In 2D games, however, the sticks mean slide. If tilting the left stick towards the screen means move my character up the screen, i.e. by climbing a ladder, tilting the right stick towards the screen should mean move the screen up, rather than rotating your viewpoint downward, as in a 3D game. You are sliding it downward. Note, those who invert the camera's x-axis must think of the right stick as attached to the back of their heads. I think Cole mentioned this during the dispatch, and I want to insist that x-axis inverters are weird, and I'm not like them.
As long as we enforce a very strict tribalism between these very minor
downhill.
distinctions. Yes.
As long as there's a downhill.
We had that conversation. That is probably the best way that I've heard it explained from somebody who inverts, well done. It's
I don't know if we express this. I have no animus for people who invert. It's just not for me, I I don't remember being particularly ferocious about it.
I just
But
don't think about them.
I'll play along.
I
Yeah, don't consider them
I
human.
don't consider them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're not people to me.
They just don't matter.
Yeah. It was okay. The cops said it didn't matter because they, so thanks everybody for writing in. We really appreciate you. This is the last dispatch of the year. It's been a great year.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a project, you are not a cis white straight guy, and you have a project you like this to highlight, please send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. I would love to fill up the hopper for the new year. This episode, I have a special shout out. My fiance does a podcast with a diverse group of folk that I would like to shout out. So before anyone calls Kotaku on me, I'm disclosing this is my fiance. But she does a very good podcast called Lady Luna's Spice Shop. This is a short form fiction podcast, about a melodramatic sorceress, and her apprentice, Felix, and they operate a secret potion shop, in a small town. It is long running and goofy and fun, and is a finite story. I get the sense that it's telling like a novel kind of story, like a, not novel like new, but novel like a novel.
Right.
So you can find this. This comes out Thursdays. It kind of comes out in seasons. So the first episode drops today of the new season. And you can find information at Studio T Rose. That's TEAROSE Rose. Or if you search Studio T Rose in a podcast app, you can find it.
Nice.
Yeah. As I mentioned, so if you have anything like that you'd like to shout out, please send me an email. Gary@Duckfeed.tv.
Please do.
Yeah.
If you have thoughts about January's games for any given month, the deadline is the 15th of that month. The place where you go to write those in is Duckfeed.tv/contact. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please separate those out into multiple responses. That just makes things easier for us. As a reminder, January's games are What Remains of Edith Finch, Heretic, and Hades is our premium episode. For premium episodes, everybody gets the generalities, but patrons get the whole thing. So go over there. If you back us at the premium WAF tier, you don't just get that month, so you get every previous one as well. So it's only getting more valuable. Let's review what we're doing in February. It's another big month.
Yeah, excited about this month. Excited everything we have on the year so far, actually. So the first thing we're doing is Luca, Born of a Dream. This is a Metroidvania of a sort. Been a minute since we've done that. That's a fun genre. So I'm really excited to do that. That is a patron pick. Next one is a Cole pick.
Yeah, we're doing Citizen Sleeper. We just did Shadowrun, so it's a little bit more cyberpunk, but it's combination of let's say tabletop plus CRPG stuff plus just a kind of branching story kind of deal.
Yeah.
Seems really cool. I'm looking for an excuse to play it.
It's kind of a Disco Elysium like.
Yeah.
And people keep bringing it up. I'm really looking forward to playing it. I want an excuse to play it. And speaking of wanting an excuse, our premium episode for that is another game that's been long on our radar, and many people have requested us. This is a patron request from Jack, Subnautica.
Yeah, we're doing Subnautica, not Condition Zero or whatever it is, Sub-Zero. I think Condition Zero is a Counter-Strike game. Yeah. Yes. We're not going to be doing that because that's kind of its own kind of expansion game kind of deal. Base game, regular one, underwater survival. I have played many hours of this. I fucking love it.
That's great.
I am looking forward.
I have not, but I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to an opportunity to finish it out.
I bought it on sale on Switch. Does it play okay on Switch?
I hear it's kind of chuggy, but I don't think that it's a huge deal. You'll know within the first little bit if it's going to be a problem.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know if we ever clarified this for Heretic as well. We're doing the base campaign.
Yeah.
So there's an expansion for that as well.
It's when you go to buy it on Steam. It's like Heretic and the Seven Horsemen or something like that.
It's the Shadow of the Serpent Riders.
There we go. Something is riding. Yeah,
that's the only version you can get, but that includes the expansion. It's going to come through, which is 5 Doom episodes, which is a lot to do in one episode. 5. So we're probably going to do the first 3, but rest assured, they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love Heretic, but it is a Doom clone from the 90s. So
Yeah.
it's So yeah. And then we got March's stuff all lined up, and it's really cool and interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
We appreciate you as always. If you'd like to sponsor an episode, you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. That'd be great. And, $5 a month gets you all the bonus episodes, gets you responses on these episodes, and helps us out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I can't think of anything more. Thanks again, everybody who watched and donated during Duckstream. Incredibly heartening.
Have a happy and safe New Year's, please.
Please do. Take care of yourself.